Because you were born different, men will fear you, try to drive you away.
I am Connor MacLeod. I am immortal.
Here we are, born to be kings. We're the princes of the universe.
Welcome to the latest episode of the podcast that wouldn't die. I'm your host, Kevin. With me, as always, is Aaron.
What up?
This week, we'll be discussing the science fiction, fantasy, I don't know what the genre is, classic Highlander, starring Christopher Lambert and Sean Connery and Clancy Brown.
Clancy
All-star
Brown. Oh my
cast.
God. I have to say, it has been a long time since I have seen this movie. And
Me too.
I remember this being one of the greatest movies that I had ever seen. I was fully invested, and I remember watching it in college. I'm like, I'd never heard it. Like, somebody had gone to the
Right.
local video store, rented the cassette,
Yep.
and at the end of the party, somebody just popped it on, and I just remember thinking, this is amazing.
And now, what do you think?
Oh my!
That's the real question.
That it did not hold up. There is one clear star, and it is not Clancy. Sean Connery, as usual, is utterly charming and
Yep.
amazing, and is not in this film nearly enough.
Right. I agree. I absolutely agree. I mean, honestly, I've never understood the appeal of Christopher Lambert. Not even a little bit.
He's like a sexy French caveman. He's got the Cro-Mag brow, and he's slightly cross-eyed.
Well, we're going to talk all about
he seems to be
this.
a goofball.
Well, it's funny. I went to see a live taping of How Did This Get Made, this podcast.
Yes, you're
that
obsessed
I
with
listen
those
to,
people.
that I love. They're great. They were doing Highlander 2, The Quickening. And they didn't understand why it was called Highlander. They thought being a Highlander meant you were immortal. And I realized the confusion comes from the fact that Christopher Lambert is supposedly Scottish.
Right.
But you would have no idea he was Scottish because he's French.
From his French accent?
From his crazy French accent, yes.
Or that Sean Connery is Egyptian from his heavy Scottish accent.
Right. Exactly. It's called Highlander, referring to the Scottish Highlands, but the only Scottish actor in the movie plays an Egyptian.
Yes.
What the hell is going on? Exactly. Ramirez,
the Egyptian.
Yeah. Good times. Sweet Jesus. Okay, give us the 30-second synopsis of Highlander.
All right. Scottish dude doesn't die. Shunned from society. Dude goes to him and says, hey, guess what? You're immortal and I need to train you. Bad guy comes, kills. Cut to the future. He's still tripping along. Only one can survive. He survives. The end. Good work. Boom.
Good work. That's all you need to know.
And all you need to know is none of this makes sense.
Well, they don't explain
anything.
Right. Yeah. Basically, there are people throughout the world who are just immortal. And they'll live forever, but there's some kind of bizarre thing.
But they can't be immortal if they then can be killed.
Well, it's like if left to their own devices, they will not die. But the only way you can kill them is if you chop their heads off.
So anyone could chop their heads off.
Well, I wrote that down because it's confusing. Because basically all the immortals are supposed to kill each other because then you get each other's powers. And then when there's only a few left, they'll be summoned to a foreign land, which is, I guess, New York. And then battle because there can be only one.
Well, then why wouldn't Clancy Brown triumph? Because he's basically killed everybody.
Right.
How is it even possible that our Highlander beats him when he's killed no one?
Well, okay. This is a good question because you're absolutely right. The Clancy Brown plays the Kurgan.
The Kurgan.
Oh, I kept calling the Gherkin, which is something different.
He may have a Gherkin. We don't know.
Right. He's from a race of warrior people from the Russian steppes from 4,000 years ago or whatever it is. And throughout history, he's gone through and just killed every immortal he's met, essentially.
Right.
Whereas seemingly every other immortal that Christopher Lambert Conor McLeod, whatever immortal he meets, they're all just buddies.
They're all
Hey, how you
buddies.
doing?
What's up?
Good to see you. I mean, literally, when Sean Connery, Juan Villalobos Ramirez, shows up, he's like, "You're immortal, McLeod," and he teaches him all. And I kept wondering, it's like, if you have to kill him eventually, why are you helping him? You know what I mean? It's like they make it seem like, well, we will have to kill each other. Even when he meets that guy Castigier on the bridge, they're all, but hey, I guess this is where it's going now. We should go party. It's like, wait a minute. You have to, according to whatever, there's no explanation behind this. You have to kill each other at some point.
But do you really have to? Because what happens if you don't?
That's a question.
And are they all only men? And are more of them being born? Because these people were all born at different times through history. So it has to be that they continue to be born. So then how can there be only one?
Right. Yeah. Sean Connery was born in Egypt 4,000 years ago, but Conor McLeod was born in Scotland in like the 1300s.
So is he the last one? There's none hatching out of an egg right now?
There's no explanation. No. I mean, and presumably they're just born of regular parents.
Right. It's just, you just don't know. You just heal from your wounds and never. And then at what point do you stop aging? Because Sean Connery is clearly old.
Yes, I wrote that down as
These
well.
people are all different ages. So what does that mean? And then when he becomes the one, it says you will grow old. So now, once you're one, now you're mortal?
Right.
Another reason to not be the one.
To not do it. Don't do it. Yeah. There's a lot of questions. There's no explanation as to why certain people are immortal. Why, I guess, because then you have to die for real, like kind of like a vampire. You have to die for real, and then you wake up and now you're really immortal, I guess.
Is that what it was?
Is that what we're supposed to think?
Or was it, I just assumed that he just healed. That he never actually died. He was still breathing. Cut to the next day, he was perfectly fine.
Well, I think, because remember, the Kurgan gets shot with an Uzi like 100 times, and he immediately gets up and is dancing around, whereas Connor gets stabbed once the first time, and he's like on his deathbed for however long before snapping out of it. I don't know. I can't explain it.
I don't know. And the Kurgan already knew who he was.
Right.
Before he'd ever been to any battle, so he had to have already been immortal. Otherwise, he wouldn't have the immortal stink.
Yeah, that is true. It's kind of like one of the, like Lost or one of those shows where they just don't explain anything. They just kind of present some facts. So like, just take it for granted. You are immortal for reasons unknown. And in the end, there could be only one. And you get the prize if you're the last one. And we're not really going to explain what the prize is either.
And like somebody had to tell Sean Connery what was up. So that means there was somebody probably even older.
Right. Yes. This is the question. This is a question. Who in the hell knows? Nobody knows.
It's a mystery.
For God's sake.
It's a mystery.
Indeed.
And then they got to walk around town in their trench coats with broadswords stuck in at all times.
I have to talk about this. This is hilarious. Because he's supposedly like this wealthy antiques dealer now in the modern day, right?
Right.
And it's like he's just kind of wearing whatever with a trench coat on. Like sometimes I'm wearing a suit, I'm wearing the same crazy trench coat. Sometimes I'm wearing like New Balance sneakers, and I'm wearing the trench coat.
Sometimes he looks like Jerry Seinfeld, but always the trench coat. But This was the 80s, and that was the code of the time.
Well, it is so you can hide your sword, I'm assuming, right?
I guess.
Because you got to carry, you never know when another immortal is going to pop up on the scene. I mean, he's chilling at the wrestling event.
Yeah, ridiculous.
At the wrestling event, I'm like, why is he there? I guess they sense each other. He's like, I've got to go to the wrestling event because there'll be another sword battle. I'm giving Lambert. It's really the craziest accent. At one point, they ask him, "Where are you from?" He's like, "I'm from lots of places."
I'm from lots. I love that you're giving him a Scottish accent.
Right? He does not have
a French accent.
Where are you from? I can't even do the French accent. I'm laughing too much. Anyway.
Throw
sweet
on some
Jesus.
Pepe Le Pew steak.
For reals. When I was in college, they did Romeo and Juliet, but they did it like the Highlander, like as if that was the setting, was the Highlander setting, which doesn't make, there is no Highlander setting. You know what I mean?
So what,
Highlander,
Ramirez is like the priest?
No, it was just everyone wore a trench coat.
Oh my Lord! Maybe it was
because they had swords.
Desire. Romeo and Juliet meets Wings of Desire.
Well, because it was supposed to be kind of like, well, we have swords because there's sword fighting in Romeo and Juliet, but we all wear trench coats. That's what being a Highlander theme.
Oh my God! So Highlander was clearly very important in your college days.
Very important. Very important. For God's sakes. Oh, sweet Jesus! I'm trying to think. So you saw this at a crazy party.
I saw this at a crazy party in college. Sometimes people, they'd be like yakking in one room, and now the party's spinning out, and nobody wants to go to bed yet, so we throw in a movie.
Yeah, I saw it. Like I think in high school. Like I was spending that at a friend's house, and it was like on HBO or something. Is what I'm thinking of.
Probably
some craziness. I mean, it is bizarre. It is the most bizarre movie. I honestly had not seen it in years. In years and years.
Some of the special effects, they could have toned down and used that money to practice things like practice the fighting so that it didn't look so shitty. Give some of that money to the writers.
Yes.
So you had a coherent story. Or, Lambert.
People love this movie. People love, and frankly,
I'm telling you, I love this movie until I just saw it.
Until you just watch it. I'm not gonna lie. It's like I was into it, and there are parts that I thought were still quite good. But the last 30, I was on my phone.
Ooh.
I was flipping through Twitter.
Indeed. I'm like, I hope I'm not missing anything too important. And I have one page of notes, but most of it's the first 5 wrestling Highlander.
Yes.
I'm like, why'd you leave the sword? Weak fighting.
Right.
What the hell is it?
How did the cops get there so
idiots.
fast?
Yeah.
There's this opening scene. He gets to do a sword fight with some businessman down in the parking garage, and literally the guy comes out from behind Christopher Lambert and goes, "McLeod." And I was like, why not just chop his head off?
Why are you doing backflips like Daryl Hannah in frickin' Blade Runner? That seems foolish.
He was Nadia Comaneci out there.
He was Nadia Comaneci.
Yeah, and not Christopher Lambert, the other guy.
Right.
They're seeing where they're like jumping from like chasing each other on the tops of cars. I'm like, it would be a lot easier if you just got on the floor and ran on the ground instead of I'm jumping from car to car chasing you. It makes no sense.
It made no sense. And when they did fight, it was super slow motion.
Crappy, right. It was crappy.
The worst. It was like maybe they thought they would speed it up later because they just didn't have time to practice. But all the fighting was like that. You're like, what?
Well, and here's the thing. Do you know why the sword fighting is not that great? There's this very simple reason.
They just left it to themselves to come up. They didn't have someone work with them.
Okay.
No choreographer.
A couple of years earlier, Christopher Lambert was cast in Greystoke, The Legend of Tarzan.
All right.
And which became, it was nominated for Academy Awards because he was just a kind of an obscure French actor up to this point.
Right.
And the reason why he was cast, he had this kind of weird look in his eyes, like the way he looked, kind of a faraway look. And they realized later it was because he's basically blind without his glasses.
Oh no! Is that why he's always slightly cross-eyed?
Yes. So it's like he can't really see. Now give him, a 40-pound broadsword and say, let's sword fight for 20 minutes in the darkened place here.
I don't
Good
know
times.
about where you live, but we have this technology where I live. It's called contact lenses.
He's not doing it.
Apparently
can do.
not. Our
They didn't
mother
have
had
that.
contact lenses in the 70s, so give me a
Did
break.
she really? I didn't know that.
Yeah,
That's
I
interesting.
actually drank them. They were like hard. They were made out of glass.
yes.
But you put them in a cup, and I drank her contact lenses. She was very upset.
Oh, sweet. Well, and it became his blindness basically became a bigger issue in Highlander 2, where he almost chopped off Michael Ironside's thumb and all sorts of stuff. It's craziness.
Still, no one said, dude, can't you just wear contacts for at least this? I mean, maybe your Coke bottle, but something better than nothing?
Right. So, and again, it comes back to, why do I care it's Christopher Lambert? Why not hire an actor who can see, number one, and then who can at least do a passable Scottish accent, since we're calling the movie The Highlander?
Why can't he wear glasses later on? Like, when you get to current time, why can't he wear glasses? Glasses were a thing. People wore fake glasses in the 80s as a look.
He wanted to look cool, I think is what it was. He wanted to be the cool guy.
In the 80s, it was cool. I'm literally, in American Psycho, they talk about how he's wearing glasses
The
with glass.
Peoples.
Yeah. Oliver Peoples, yeah.
Right. Well, I also think it's supposed to be like, you're immortal, therefore you're you're perfect. You don't have any maladies, or you're not myopic. I don't know. I didn't write the damn thing. I didn't write it. So he chops the guy's head off in the parking garage and immediately hides the samurai sword that he's using.
Which made no sense. Why don't you just slip it back into your stupid trench coat? And what power did you gain from this besides some kind of weird orgasm?
Right.
That causes cars to poop and explode.
Yes.
Did you notice that the cars were like, they did this thing like the cars were shitting themselves?
I did not notice.
Oh my God! There's a
connection.
shot of the undercarriage, and you see just like black oil and stuff. All of a sudden, just go.
Okay.
I was like, "What the hell?"
So he gets in his car and tries to drive away, and literally before he leaves the parking garage, there's 50 cop cars, waiting for him, waiting to arrest him. And I'm like, how? Did somebody throw up the bat signal?
The whole place exploded like it was some kind of 9/11 bomb or something. So I would think that would have gotten people's attention.
It would have gotten people's attention, no question. But the idea that there's 50 cops, guns drawn on him, throwing him up against it, like they already know he's the perp. You know what I'm saying? It just seems like we're cutting to the chase here a little quick.
Yeah. Movie's over.
Sweet Jesus. Movie's over. Oh, sweet Jesus. Let me see. I'm looking at my notes here. All these lovely things.
I put down he's a hotter Arnold Schwarzenegger.
I don't think he's very handsome. I don't think he's very handsome at all. It's
kind of a Malkovich situation where you're like,
whoa,
oh no.
Whoa. And not alone, you're like, you mean that international sex symbol, John Malkovich? Oh, sweet. That makes some sense.
John Malkovich and Dangerous Liaisons. Come on.
Oh, God. Valmont. When we first meet the Kurgan in ancient Scotland, he is literally wearing some kind of a skull, and I'm like, is that a dinosaur?
By the power of Grayskull!
It literally was like that. I'm like, what animal did this crazy skull come from?
It made no fun.
A velociraptor? What is happening? I know you're old, but are you that old? You're wearing fossils?
Back in the old days, they used to ride dinosaurs to fight each other in jousts.
I guess. And so the Kurgan is there, and he's kind of allied himself with the sworn enemies of the Clan MacLeod. And he tells them, kill them all, but don't touch MacLeod, or don't touch Connor MacLeod, because he's for me.
Right.
He's mine. So then in the battle, there's like Christopher Lambert in the middle of the battlefield. Why won't you fight me? Hey, fight me! Sacre bleu!
Sacre bleu!
Because people would run up and go, whoops, and then kind of run away. And I kept thinking, you can still stab them.
Yes!
You gotta
What's stopping you, Brother Bear?
You can still stab some people. What are you doing? Very sad. And then, of course, the Kurgan comes up and immediately stabs McLeod in like 2 seconds.
You
know
what it reminded me of? It was like Julius Caesar when they wouldn't give Brutus the honorable death. That was kind of the vibe I was getting. He wanted to die on the battlefield. It's just like Julius Caesar, but it's the Highlander.
You know, scholars have often made that comparison. Sweet Jesus. And so then he rises from the grave or whatever. Now his own clan turns against him, including his wife.
I don't even know if that was his wife. I thought that was the local hooar or something.
Well, no, she was
One minute she's about ready to kill herself because he's dying. The next minute he's like, burn him, he's a witch.
Burn him anyway.
Oh my God. Yeah, it was ridiculous.
Yeah, his kinsmen Angus and Dougal. Don't say such things, Catherine. Whatever her name is, I don't remember. Very sad.
She reminds me of one of those chicks from Saturday Night Live. Did you get that vibe? And then I'm blanking. Who is it? Kate McKenna or something? Who was it? The one who plays the Walmart checker. You know what I'm talking about for Saturday Night Live? Oh, mother.
Lorraine Newman. I have no idea.
Lorraine Newman. Oh my God. This is why your picture's not on Instagram.
It's a sad situation. What else?
Oh,
why is Ramirez older? Why are they wearing trench coats? There's a long list of things.
I have something. So, like, at one point, Ramirez tells him it's like hollowed ground. We don't fight on hollowed ground.
Right, in churches.
In churches. It's a tradition. So this has all happened before? What's the tradition?
You're right.
So,
well, it's a good thing Kurgan still holds to the traditions. Yeah. Later in the movie, he confronts him in a church. Hey,
always with always with the licking. Always so much licking before the raping.
That's how they do it.
It's disgusting.
Yes. But you're right.
I even wrote more licking.
Not more licking. Draw a line through that. So the whole movie is flashbacks with him like back in Scotland or whatever, and then it's like him in World War II or whatever.
Yeah, it's just like Outlander, but it's Highlander.
Right. And it's exactly what it is. Meanwhile, there's a forensic police detective. What is she exactly? She's like an expert in swords.
She's an expert in swords. And yeah, it doesn't even matter. It's so stupid. First of all, let's talk about the fact that these guys are immortal, but look at how the Kurgan lives. What is the point of being immortal if you're sleeping in sleazebag hotels?
A flop house.
Millenniums. Sleeping in dirt for millenniums.
Yeah. Well, it seems like everybody else is doing good. I mean, everybody Castigear is wearing robes.
He has the most blessings and the most energy and lives the shittiest life. Then at the end, the Highlander gives up all his money and everything. And what? Now.
Oh, that's true.
Now, what's the point of that?
Well, they established that, like,
food? You're going to live with the chud in the underground?
He's going to be a chud. I think that we found the answer.
Why would you give up all your money and everything? Okay, move to a different city, whatever.
Well, they talked about, since the 1700s, like, somebody would die and then donate all of their, bequeath all their possessions to a person who allegedly died at birth.
Well, he's setting up a timeline because eventually someone's going to be suspicious.
Right. So every couple of years, he would assume a new identity and then gift all of his wealth and possessions to the next person. But you're right. At the end of this one, he's like, I'm out of here, Rachel.
To Rachel, who he saved from the Nazis.
Right. That's right. I guess we're supposed to think is like essentially his daughter. Raised her since
his daughter that is now looks older than him. Correct.
Yes. Right. And then he just bails on her.
Yeah.
He's like,
She's
later, I
devoted
know
her
I've raised
whole
you.
life to him.
Yes.
And now it's like, adios, MFer.
Well, and this is kind of funny because they kind of make a point where it's like, you know, when you're an immortal, you cannot have like these connections with people.
But
Basically,
they
you
all
can't
have
fall in love.
connections.
Of course. Well, it's
You can't.
back in
They're impotent, so, but not impotent.
They're not impotent.
I mean that they're sterile. They're sterile creatures.
I promise this never happened before. I'm just tired, love. It's been a long day. No, they can't have children, right? But and that's because Ramirez warns me. He's like, Highlander, you've got to let her go because we cannot keep wives and things. It's very sad. You have to live a lonely, solitary life, Highlander.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I've had 3 wives.
Yes.
And that's fine. But you should probably just not do that.
Don't do it, Highlander. Because there's that whole, and it was kind of a beautiful scene where it's like his like relationship with what's her name, with Heather. How just one day she's old and gray, basically, and they lived their whole lives in the Highlands.
And of course, she's totally still beautiful. She's just a little wrinkly and has wiry
she's got some white hair.
Otherwise,
Yeah, so
still has all her teeth. She's not Gummy Jane, and they're still as in love as ever. Even though they just live together, I don't know, just making love for 40 years.
Just the two of them for ages, right? So and it's kind of so it's like, oh, the pain of the loss. Now for 800 years, I have not been with another woman or anything. Although adopting Rachel, doesn't that count? Eventually, Rachel will die.
Of course. It's ridiculous.
She's already long in the tooth.
People, you move on. It's thousands of years.
Right.
Everyone like you wants to eventually kill you. So, of course, you have to have these connections. There have been other stories like this. Usually, I can't remember what movie is this, but about the time where it becomes really obvious that they're not aging, then the immortal person abandons them and moves on. What movie was that? And then the old wife showed up. Do you remember that?
The Hunger? I have no idea.
I love The Hunger. How dare you, you son of a. No, but in one of these movies that I can't think of the title, it's the same kind of a thing. Like they're with you for 20 years and then they're gone because then the questions start getting asked. And some old 80-year-old woman, he's still young and beautiful, like late 20s. And like this 80-year-old woman comes up to him at a party. I knew it was you, my love. And everybody's like, what?
No. That's Somewhere in Time.
No, I never saw that.
Somewhere in Time with Christopher Reeve.
Is that what happened? I don't think I ever saw that.
Kind of. It's basically what happens is the movie starts. He's like, I don't remember what he's an actor or something. And this old woman comes out, oh, my love, I finally found you. He's like, what the hell? And then she dies. And he realizes like later in the movie, he goes back in time.
He didn't know he was going in time?
He didn't know at that, like she met him before he knew he was going to go back in time. I
see.
So then he goes back and has a romance with her. And then somehow goes back to the future.
Back to the future.
At the
in a DeLorean?
In a DeLorean. This is neither here nor there. Moving
neither
on.
Here nor there. Friday, I'm on the freeway and a DeLorean goes by. Not just any DeLorean. It's pimped to be Back to the Future. Back to the Future DeLorean goes zipping by in the fast lane.
Look, I live in Orange County.
Everybody's Back to the Future.
I literally see the General Lee pimped out to look like the General Lee and the A-Team van pimped out to look like the A-Team van, just in somebody's driveway. And I'm assuming Mr. T lives there, but who's to say?
Who's to say? You didn't ask. Is Mr. T here? I pity the fool.
I pity the fool. That's right. I wrote down what does happen if a normal person cuts your head off. And you're immortal.
You'll have to try it.
Does it kill you, or do you just pop it back on? I mean, what happens? There's a scene that I was kind of laughing about. The police historian, whatever the hell she is, who's trying to track down the samurai sword, this mythical sword.
Right.
She goes basically undercover, I guess, to try to romance Christopher Lambert to find out the history of the sword. And of course, he sniffs it out immediately and like hands her a gift, but it's like her book. And she's mad at him. She's like, "You bastard!
You son of a whore!" Yeah,
It
it makes no sense. If only he had just put his hand up to feel her face at that moment too, to see if she was angry.
Right. Like the miracle worker.
Like
yes,
the miracle worker.
That's exactly what it was. Well, and then he finally tells her his story, and
immediately they just start getting on.
They
He's
did
literally
first.
he
Yes.
has her stab him in the stomach, and
Yes.
blood is pouring out. They get busy.
His hand has his blood all over it, and he reaches up and touches her cheek, and they immediately start boning. And there's like a beautiful musical montage where it's like in the shadows, here's their body. It's just like, what is happening?
Oh yeah, it was a sex farm.
She was like, he's like, are you there?
It was like American Psycho. There should have been more blood.
Right, that's
they
exactly
should have
what it was.
incorporated that into their lovemaking.
That's exactly what Here's a horror story. Do you have any other highlights you want to talk about?
There's just some weird shit. At one point, they're back in the village. I don't know if you noticed this. There's like a festival going on.
Yes.
And there are people just jumping up and down on steps and people applauding. I'm like, are these the village idiots? What's happening there?
That's what they did back in the day for fun.
Did you notice that?
They did not have cable back then. So they just had to jump
to nowhere, and
Yes.
people were hopping up and down them with people watching them.
Yeah, that was very popular at the time.
And then randomly, I noticed at the newsstand there was the uncle from Moonstruck. Do you remember the uncle that did you ever see Moonstruck?
Years and years ago.
So at one point, Cher has an aunt and uncle who own an Italian like little market.
Okay.
And it's the uncle. He's the one who tells the story of La Bella Luna. Anyway, he's working. I noticed he was working at a newsstand.
Oh,
in
yes.
the background.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
very
just
cool.
randomly. Basically, that is all I have. Village idiots jumping on stairs. Weak fighting. More licking. Whole budget spent in last scene.
Which is not the most entertaining scene. And we haven't really even talked about the fact that the whole soundtrack is Queen.
Oh, because you know why?
Why?
It's not that good.
Well, and that's the thing. We did Flash Gordon, however long ago. And
Right.
immediately it kicks into Flash, which became a huge hit.
Huge hit.
And then you watch this and you're kind of like, I kind of remember these songs from this movie. Vaguely.
They got no radio play.
No.
At the very end, the closing credit, the Highlander song sounded vaguely familiar, but I mean, this is a better movie than Flash Gordon.
Yes.
I would say that. Although
Yes.
Flash is weird for so many other reasons.
Yeah, it is. It is.
So if you would have had a much better Queen song, but yeah, it was pretty weak. It is Queen, and that's why I didn't bring it up because the music was weak.
Here we are, princes of the universe.
Yeah, by far the best
don't
song.
you?
But everything was just Freddie Mercury on the background. But sadly, you didn't care.
Who wants to live forever? It was basically
It's the same freaking song.
Yes.
The rest of the music was garbaggio.
Right. Well, it's basically like I read, and this is actually behind the scenes, where they basically were only like asked to write one song, but they liked the movie so much that they decided to like basically score the whole damn thing. So it's
See
like,
what I mean? Back in the day, you thought this is a great movie.
well, this is great. So the Gherkin is driving around in his car with all his like heavy metal gear, listening to Queen on the radio. It's like, okay, but not the good stuff. This is the B-sides, the deep B-sides.
This is deep cut B-side. It was like, what was his name? John from Queen.
It was John from Queen.
John from Queen, who wrote all of the most shittiest songs. It's like he scored it.
John Deacon,
John Deacon.
the bass player.
No, not the bass player.
The
Who
drummer?
am I thinking of? I'm thinking of the drummer.
Roger Taylor?
Roger Taylor. They're
There you
all
go.
Roger Taylor deep cuts.
Very. I was listening to this podcast. They were talking about how Brian May has maintained that same crazy hairstyle his entire life.
Yes.
The 70s rock star hair well into his like 70s. It's like, bro, come on.
What do you want him to do? Get a flat top? Well, look what happened when Freddie Mercury decided to go full leather gay. He looked terrible. He looked better younger.
You wanted him in the crazy like jumpsuits with lightning bolts on it. Why can't you just do that?
I like the jumpsuits, even though the ones that went all the way down to his wing wall.
Yes, yes, the full
I
belly
liked
exposed.
him better with full hair. I didn't like that. He had a weird shaped head to have hair that short. I mean, I know we all enjoy Judas Priest and we all want to look like Nazis, but no.
No, we don't. Oh, sweet Jesus.
I never really got behind the pseudo-Nazi leather dealio.
Well, that's good to know. Good to know.
Everybody has their own boat to float.
Are you ready for behind the scenes?
I am ready.
All of Sean Connery's scenes had to be filmed in a week due to Sean Connery's schedule.
I knew there was some shit because it was too short. It was just too short and there was not enough.
Well, and he's kind of, I mean, to bring back the whole Shakespearean thing, he's basically Mercutio, where he's by far the most interesting, charismatic character, but you can't have him around. Otherwise, it's like, why are we watching Christopher Lambert?
Because in the end, you want Sean Cassidy.
Want
Sean Connery to kill the Highlander because you like him better.
You do. He's much more interesting.
He's interesting. His personality, his sense of humor. Chris Lambert is like an idiot child running around next to him.
He is an idiot child.
You gotta put Chris Lambert down like a sick dog if it's between the two. It's like, I'm gonna give you a hug. Sorry, Chrissy, but you gotta go now.
It's
Bye.
like Of Mice and Men, kind of.
I've done a bad thing, George.
Pet the rabbits, George, kind of thing, and then Has anybody seen Of Mice and Men? Yes. George has to kill Lenny at the end. Spoiler alert.
Yes.
Okay.
And the beauty of all that, remember Bugs Bunny used to spoof on Of Mice and Men.
Which way did he go, George?
Which way did he go? Oh no.
Yes. Good times. Whenever there would be a sword fight, there would be like sparks from the swords hitting each other. They literally attached a wire to the swords. And electricity. They're electrified.
That's so dangerous.
Yeah, especially when you have Blind Man Joe swinging that sword.
No wonder it was super slow motion.
Yep. Filmmakers were shocked to find out after signing the contract that Christopher Lambert did not speak any English.
What?
They had to literally teach him phonetically and then have a dialogue coach try to approximate something resembling a Scottish accent. Eventually, they just said, screw it. Because there's that line, like I said, where the cops go, where are you from anyway? It says, where are you from anyway? And I think the line was originally, I'm from Scotland. But they're like, screw it. I'm from lots of places. Good times.
And your accent is more Scottish than anything pooped out by him.
Yes.
How is it you signed a contract and no one has met this man?
Well, again, he was in an Academy Award nominated movie. He was an international sex symbol, allegedly. Who's to say? He was the hot stuff.
Well, I mean, it's not the first time. It's not the first time that you have people who are doing dialogue that don't speak the language.
This is true. I mean, that's how Antonio Banderas' career began. When he was first doing movies in English, it was all done phonetically because he didn't speak any English.
But guess what? Antonio Banderas did a much better
He did.
job.
Well, they didn't say the Scottish Antonio Banderas, for God's sakes. Very upsetting. During filming, the crew would avoid Clancy Brown when he was in his Kurgan gear because he was too intimidating.
Oh, no.
Yes.
Because he's a method actor, so he was Kurgan for the 2 weeks it took to film this?
I just think they thought he was creepy. I just didn't realize.
Well, he probably is.
I love Clancy Brown. He is great.
I know.
He is great.
He is disgusting.
He is, he's vile. Sean Connery and Christopher Lambert got along so well during filming that they became like good friends, and then
How did they communicate?
finger gestures. I don't know.
I got a finger gesture right here.
Uh,
So he must know some English. I mean, Sean Connery, does he speak 12 languages?
he's a man about town, Renaissance man. So they got so close that when Lambert was approached to do Highlander 2, The Quickening, he insisted that they figure out a way to bring back Sean Connery, and they did. So Sean Connery is in Highlander 2 as well, back from the grave.
That's the only reason why anybody would watch it.
I'm assuming you haven't seen Highlander 2, The Quickening.
I do not believe
It
so.
is ridiculously horrible. It's horrible on a whole number of reasons. Number one is they totally changed. Like, notice how in this movie there's a lot of unanswered questions. They basically retcon it to say that they're all aliens from another planet who like always knew that they were immortal aliens, and it takes place in the future.
Aliens?
Yes, it takes place in the future where the ozone layer is bad, and it's a horror show.
Oh my god!
So much so that when they continued making sequels, Highlander 2 or Highlander 3, The Sorcerer, Highlander 4, Endgame, blah blah blah, and then even a TV series, the Highlander TV series on like the USA Network, they all ignore the second movie. They pretend it didn't happen. They don't reference it. They ignore any plot points that are brought up from it because it's such a horror show. Good times.
All right, so Sean Connery had a French wife, but he never learned French.
Is that true?
This is a famous Sean Connery quote. Unfortunately, don't speak French, but my wife is now fluent in English, which really reflects rather badly on me.
We agree, Sean. We agree. Good times.
So Chris Lambert must have some level of English if they're the best friends, unless it was purely sexual relationship.
It's purely sexual. There's a scene.
It was sexual.
When I get that feeling. There's a scene where Clancy Brown bursts in and like swings a sword down and smashes a table, and he almost decapitated Sean Connery. And Sean Connery stormed off the set because it was obviously a dangerous situation. And Clancy Brown apologized, saying he was very nervous. And Sean Connery joked that he should use a stunt double more. Wah, wah, wah. In the scene where the Kurgan confronts McLeod in the church, after it was done filming, he went and apologized to all the priests and nuns who happened to be on set for his character, basically, for all of the gross stuff he did while he was in the church.
It was disgusting. It was like trying to do an exorcist. And then his head was shaved because he didn't want people to remember him. That was the reason he walked in like he was a road warrior. I didn't want people to recognize me.
So I shaved most of my hair, but
really?
not all of it. There's still weird like streaks of hair left.
Exactly, and do weird licking things at nuns and priests. Obviously a good
good times. Let's see.
I like that they used real nuns.
Well, it was a real
That's
church.
Disturbing.
I don't know if the actors, they might have actually been real actors.
Well,
they were on set hanging out like they do, just chilling. Doing their thing.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, like I said, Christopher Lambert spent time with a dialogue coach developing an accent which sounded non-specifically foreign. It sounded
French.
Is what it sounded like.
Yes. It sounded like a ridiculous French accent. The only difference is it French Canadian or is it French French?
That's right. Haitian. Kurt Russell was originally cast as Connor McLeod, but pulled out to do Big Trouble in Little China instead.
Oh, wow.
Right.
That's a classic.
Good times. Sean Connery. Excuse me.
Oh, my Lord.
Just a splash of the vid. A bit of the vid. Sean Connery also worked with a dialect coach to master his Spanish accent, as you could tell.
Yeah. Right up there with the French accent. Oh my God. Gerard Depardieu had a lesson.
Maurice Chevalier.
Wait!
Oh, sweet Jesus! I think that's about it. Good.
That's all you got.
There was supposed to be. It was supposed to be a hockey match that occurs at the beginning of the movie, not a wrestling match. But the NHL did not want their movie associated with such violence.
How about the battle with the Kurgan and Sean Connery? Was that some
little bit of
claymation stuff where it literally, they take the broadsword and the paper mache walls of the building are falling down?
Yeah, they're fighting in an ancient Scottish castle, and every time their sword touched the wall just caved in and collapsed. Yeah, no, that wouldn't happen. I would not give a damn how hard you swing that sword. Sweet Lord. The quickening. Do you know what that means? When they say, that's the quickening, McCloud.
Is that right before the
seems like it. Seems like it.
Because that's how
they don't really explain what it means. I think they were suggesting that when you're around another Highlander, then it's the feeling you get. Right, exactly.
You get a Woody?
Yes, that's exactly what it means. But in real life, the quickening is a real term. Do you know what it means in the real life?
The quickening is related to, this is my bullshit answer. It's related to bread rising, and right before you put it in the oven.
You're very close. Quick. It's not bread in the oven. It's a bun in the oven. It's when a baby in the womb shows its first sign of life, its first noticeable movement. That's what's
you're
the quickening.
Right. Yeah. Is that what your doctor talked about when your wife was pregnant? Oh, we're reaching the quickening. A new Highlander is to be born.
Yes, we were doing the ultrasound.
I think it's an old.
We were doing the ultrasound, and then Sean Connery leaped over on his horse over the table. It's the quickening, McCloud. Yeah, if only. Shall we talk about the cast?
Well,
we pretty much have. Christopher Lambert, you know him from Mortal Kombat, Highlander, Subway, Beowulf.
Yes.
We talked about how his first big claim to fame was Greystoke, The Legend of Tarzan.
Didn't see that. I don't even think I saw that. I saw the one with the
Kurgan.
Oh fuck, Bo Derek. No, I saw the Bo Derek Tarzan. I didn't think after that.
Well, this one was nominated for all sorts of stuff. What's interesting is he only has a couple lines, but it was also the screen debut of Andie MacDowell. But her acting was so lousy. They had Glenn Close do voiceover for her.
Well, she is a lousy actress.
She got better.
People loved her. She got better.
She got better. I mean, again, she ain't nominated for Zippity Doo Dah.
We all have rooms for improvement, but I wouldn't say she was ever.
She was fine.
Good.
Well, basically, she was.
See, I'm still not hearing.
You're not going to hear that from me.
There's better. There's fine.
No. She's not okay. Let me say this. There are definitely actors where you're like, well, that. I never said that about Andie MacDowell's performance post Greystoke. That doesn't mean I was like, damn.
So are we talking Costner level, or what are we talking now? Below a Costner or above? A Val Kilmer,
I like Val
maybe?
Kilmer. Okay, even in Island of Dr. Moreau, I like me some Kilmer.
Oh my God! But he's channeling his frickin' inner Brando, and not the good
bad
Brando, but late
model Brando. No, okay. Kevin Costner's definitely delivered some stinkers. Brad Pitt, early Brad Pitt delivered
Robin Hood.
A few stinkers. He got better as well.
Yes. So, what are we saying? Andie MacDowell's early Brad Pitt or later?
I would say she's somewhere in the middle. I would never say, because Brad Pitt is now, like I've said this before, he's now interesting to watch. Where there was a time where he wasn't. You know what I'm saying?
Well, he's also more discerning with his parts.
As well. That might.
Parts is parts.
Keanu Reeves. Early Keanu was lousy. lousy, and now he's pretty good.
Oh my God,
Now
was
he's pretty good.
terrible. Oh my God, in Constantine, he's amazing. That's my favorite.
It's about the turn of the
Keanu
millennium.
movie.
He starts getting around the Matrix. He got much better.
And now I don't know what happened because I think his face started melting now. During COVID,
Keanu.
his face started melting.
We're not all immortal.
Poor Keanu.
Okay, is the rule of thumb.
Is it time,
It's time for his
Keanu's quickening?
Sean Connery, obviously, Untouchables, The Rock, Dr. No, etc., etc.
We don't need to. We don't need. All we have to do is say Sean Connery. I'll take the rapist for 500.
Clancy Brown has been in a ton of stuff. He was in The Shawshank Redemption, Starship Troopers.
Oh,
Thor,
he's a good baddie.
Ragnarok.
When is he not? Has he ever been not
he
a
is
baddie?
Mr. Krabs on SpongeBob SquarePants. So there you go. There it is.
Shut your mouth!
Absolutely.
I didn't know that.
He is great. He is
God
great.
bless you, Clancy Brown.
Can't go wrong.
He's always a
the woman who
classic.
plays Brenda. Her name is Roxanne Hart. She was on a couple years of Chicago Hope. I don't know. Good times. Bleez blahs.
Blah blah blah.
One actress that I was kind of interested and confused. This will mean no one to anybody who does not watch like the Acorn Network or whatever, BBC America. Becky and I started watching that show Poldark. Did you ever watch Poldark?
Yes. No, but I've seen it's been recommended.
There is like a chambermaid who works for Poldark, and her name is like, and I was like, just flipping through. This will mean nothing to you because you haven't watched the show. She is Connor McLeod's like young wife Heather in this movie. So yeah, she does not look like this anymore. But again, not immortal. It's a sad situation.
Because I watched this on Vudu, and Vudu will give you a background of the actors. And 99% of the actors, they didn't even have a picture for. It was literally just like an outline of a face.
If you watch Poldark, she's the crispy old chambermaid woman. So there you go. Or not chambermaid.
She's not immortal.
Not
she's not.
chambermaid.
Does she look?
Sorry.
Does she look like her
She does
old
not.
self in Highlander?
She does not.
That's all that matters.
It's a sad situation.
She aged differently.
Shocking.
She aged
Shocking.
differently.
We're all getting older, okay? I'm not here. I'm not one to gossip, not one to judge. So there you go. Good times.
I'm going to start bathing in the blood of babies because it's not happening to me anymore. I'm reversing the aging. Keep your children away
Sweet
from
Lord. Good. Oh, the woman who played his first wife, who was like, burn him, that you thought was Kate McKinnon. Her name is Celia Emery, and she's like in the Best Exotic Marigold Hotel. She's one of those like older British women that you see in a lot of stuff.
That's funny. I did see that, of course. And then I had to go see the second one with our parents.
They're the second best.
I'm not living in frickin'
I'm sure
India.
it's beautiful.
I'll vacation. No, it's hot. It's hot and humid. Same reason I'm not moving to Tennessee or Florida. Florida.
Thank you very much. Go to our page on Facebook at the Podcast That Wouldn't Die. Go to our page on Twitter.
Are we gonna rate this?
You're right.
Quit rushing me. I mean, I gotta go to the bathroom, but you got.
I got a bee in me bonnet. You're absolutely right. Our rating for this movie on Rotten Tomatoes is 69% fresh, although the audience gives it 79%.
That's not good.
So there you have it.
Did they rate it in the 80s or did they rate it yesterday?
That's the difference.
That's the difference. Because apparently we had no goddamn.
Well, it's based upon 36 reviews, although the audience score is based upon over 100,000 reviews. So there you go.
Oh, okay.
Let's see. Any famous top critics? There's only 6 top critics.
What did Roger Ebert say?
He didn't rate it on this,
jam.
evidently. I don't recognize anything.
He's like... Yeah, it's all Fred's movie review. Fan Fangoria, where they just say everything is
That's
great
right.
if it's a horror movie.
So yeah, Fred's movie reviews gave it 2 thumbs down. I don't know. Very sad.
A finger in the
That's
ass
all you
and
need
a
to
kick
know.
in the
So what do
teeth.
you got? What you got?
All right, I am giving it 2 out of 5. Clancy Brown licking your face.
That's not a good
licks.
that's not a good
2
review.
licks.
But I want you to know that's a failing score. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, I don't ever need to see this again. It is off my list.
Oh, very
Off
upsetting.
my list.
I will give it 3 out of 5.
We need to stop reviewing movies from my youth. It's destroying
Your
all
childhood.
my childhood. If we're calling my
That is
college
true.
years my childhood.
I will give it 3 out of 5. Blind ass Christopher Lambert,
God.
empty stares and horrible accents. So there you go. Good time. It's fine. It's definitely not as good as you think it is or remember it being. But there are parts that I enjoy very much. Like I said, anything with Sean Connery is great.
Yeah, that's it. Unfortunately,
Right.
he's in it for about 15 minutes.
He ain't in it enough. And literally, they brought him back from the grave for the second one.
Wasn't he like, maybe I did see it, wasn't he like a ghost? Like he was coming
No,
and
that's
advise
Star
him?
Wars. What are you talking about? Sweet Jesus.
Carter, I am your father.
That's what he says. That's a direct quote. So there you have it. Go to our page on Facebook at The Podcast That Wouldn't Die. Go to our page on Twitter at TPodcastTWDie. You may email us at thepodcastthatwouldn'tdie@gmail. We are on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, etc., etc., etc. And Aaron, you are also on social media. What's the word?
The Cult of Aaron on the Twitski and the Insta.
So check
Join the cult.
that out. You won't regret it, for God's sakes.
You
So
will
thank you very
not.
much, and be well.